Marvel Rivals has been out for just about a month now, and I want to go in a more in-depth guide on what are the best controller aim settings for console within Marvel Rivals. We're going to go over what's the best linear and S-curve response type settings, and we're also going to explain what each of these settings actually do, so you can fine-tune these settings to your personal preference. So we're going to go over the three main components of aiming within this game. And the first one is to do with your bullets and where they're actually going. So first of all, within this game, your kind of bullets kind of go off towards the right at an angle for some reason. Now, you're not actually aiming dead center of your character. So if our character was here, you should be aiming pretty much straight ahead, but you're not actually aiming in that place. You're actually aiming off to the right slightly, and that's why the bullets end up going towards the right, as you can see here. Now, this is why in this game, when you aim towards the right of a character, you tend to get more hit markers. You tend to have a bigger hit box from the looks of it as well, from this character model of Luna Snow. And when you aim to the left of a character, it seems like you're not hitting anyone or anything at all, unless you're actually hitting the exact character model. The next thing is the aim assist bubble. Now, where you start to get aim assist within this game. So as you're moving your crosshairs here, you start to get slowdown. And as you can see here, the slowdown then speeds up after a certain point. So if you try and keep your aim as consistent as possible, which I'm trying to do here, at one point you will experience a slowdown and then it will start to speed up again. So as you can see here, it's speeding up, it slows down, and then it speeds up again. And as you can see, that bubble's quite big. The bubble starts about here on Luna Snow. So Luna Snow's a small character, as you can see. The bubble is starting right here where I'm getting sticky aim, and it ends around about here where I'm getting sticky aim as well. And then outside of this is a lot smoother, so you can see it moves a lot faster here than it does right here. And I'm trying to move the analog stick as the same as I possibly can. And the best examples in the firing range right here anyway. So if you're slowing down your aim outside this bubble and you're getting close to this enemy target, that's fair enough. But the issue comes where you're trying to track between these two targets here, and the bubble is so big that you don't even have a speed up between these two portions, or between this gap of the two enemy targets, which is just a really strange concept to me. So you do want to make sure that the aim does speed up so you can track the other target if you need to. So let's say you're shooting this target, but this one's lower health, you want to focus this one. You want to make sure your aim gets over to them as quickly as possible so you can deal the damage. And the final part to aim assist is rotational and aim assist slowdown. Now, the easiest one to understand is aim assist slowdown, and that is basically when you move your aim stick towards an enemy target, as you can see here, and as you've seen basically previously within the clips we've shown you just earlier on as well. Basically, your aim tends to slow down towards a target to help you stay on target in the first place. So that is something that you get with your right aim stick. So even if you just keep moving your right aim stick, you're going to feel the aim assist slow you down towards your opponents, as you can see here with the correct settings. Now, the other aim assist you're supposed to get within this game is rotational aim assist. So if you just move left and right with your moving stick, you're supposed to get aim assist, which you can feel dragging across your screen, trying to stay on target here. As you can see, the crosshairs are kind of trying to stick to the enemy players. Right there, you can see there's a big stick, and it's actually moving my crosshairs off the center line where I had it originally with the tiles on the ground there. So that is something that you're going to see. As you can see, you can feel it even more when you're moving slower. So you can feel that rotational aim assist kick in. Now, this is where this game is a lot weaker than other games that you've probably played, other third-person shooters, other first-person shooters, and probably this is where you feel like you're not doing too great within the game, especially at close range. Now, coming from Call of Duty as well, I do want to point out another quick tip, is that recoil does not exist in this game. So as you can see here with Punisher, there's no such thing as recoil. The bullets go where you want them to go. And also flinch does not exist in this game either. So if a target is shooting you back, you're pretty much still going to be hitting your shots regardless. Getting into the linear settings first, and the reason why I want to go over linear is because most people actually play on this, and there is a reason to use linear or S-curve, and we'll go over that in just a moment. But when it comes to linear settings, you want your horizontal sensitivity to always be higher than your vertical sensitivity. The reason for that is because tracking up and down is a lot harder than tracking left and right. Most people are moving on the horizontal plane compared to the vertical plane. Even the characters that can fly are moving horizontally 90% of the time. And that is why you want to be able to track slightly better moving horizontal, which is a lot easier as well, by the way, than moving vertical. Now, when characters are doing small jumps, or whether they're flying up for a small portion of time, or whatever it may be, then you kind of want your tracking up and down to be a bit slower, because it does move quite rapidly up and down. It's kind of a bit more difficult to control as well, and that is why I've set it to 50. And again, we're going to get into this in just a moment as we get through the rest of the settings too. Next up, we've got the linear curve selected, as you can see here, which is obviously the base curve type within the game. And then the minimum dead zone should be based on your controller. So up until the point you stop getting stick drift, whatever that point is, this is where you should set this setting. And I have it set to 4 at the moment, and that's just because my controller is relatively old. As low as you can go whilst not getting stick drift is how you set this one. Maximum input dead zone is always set to 1 or 0, but I think 1 makes more sense. And the reason for this is because as soon as you hit your stick all the way to the left, essentially, or the right, you want to be able to do a 180 turn. And this comes hand in hand with the next setting, which is max dead zone sensitivity boost. And this is why the input needs to be set to 1 or 0. Because all the way up until the point in which you whack your analog stick to one side or the other, you want it to be a fine-tuned aim. You want it to be something you can control very easily. And then as soon as you hit the stick all the way, you want to be able to do a 180 turn. And that is something that's very difficult to do with controller compared to a mouse and keyboard player. Mouse and keyboard players can basically do a 180 on the spot, which is very easy to do, and that's why a lot of pros are playing on PC. But this is something you can still achieve on console as well with a controller. Then we do have the horizontal max dead zone response time. I have this set to the base standard of 30. Now, I've also played around with it, got it down to 20 as well. It actually works pretty well in 20, but I think it's a little bit too quick. And this is basically how long it takes for it to register that full whack on your controller to spin the screen round. Now, like if you put this down to 20, so essentially what we're looking to do is a 180 from here to basically facing behind us. And as you can see here, it's relatively quick. Now, it's not super quick, it's not keyboard or mouse quick, but it's quick enough for controller players to get a 180 on maybe a melee character that's coming up behind you. Now, the max dead zone sensitivity boost is based on also the response time, so you can play around with that. Like I said, between 20 and 30 for 40 sensitivity boost actually works out perfectly, by the way. Now, also, I do want to mention that you could put this up higher so that you could spin quicker. That's another thing you can do. I just don't want to make it so that it messes up your aim completely, because then you need to start adjusting the sensitivities again as well within the game, and I just think it's a bit more complicated to do, and I've managed to get really good settings as a baseline here. But if you do want to play around with your sensitivities, then you can. Next up, we've got the aim assist window size. Now, you need to adjust this setting regardless of whether you're using S-curve or whether you're using the standard linear curve. This needs to be all the way down between 15 and 25. This is going to give you the best window size for an object within this game. So for example, now that this is set down to 20, we're getting aim assist around about here and not all the way out here where we're getting it before. So that means you can actually get that little bit of speed boost between this section here to actually lock onto the next target. So you do need this window to be a lot smaller. Then we've got the aim assist strength, which needs to just be at 100%. Basically, it means you're getting the maximum aim assist possible, and it just makes sense to do that. Then aim assist ease in is basically how you start feeling the aim assist as it comes into the game. Now, people have this set higher, but I have it set slightly lower, so you still need that movement within your aim whilst you're inside the aim bubble as well. Now we're moving on to the S-curve. Now we're going to explain the difference between linear and S-curve within this game. But as you can see here, it's easier to snap between two different targets at a time, and this is why I personally prefer S-curve over linear. Now, if you're using linear again, you'll be basically aiming nice and slow gradually to each target. You'll get a bit of a speed up in between if you reduce that aim assist window size. But when it comes to S-curve, the more you push your stick, the more it kind of goes that way. And the more you push your stick, the more it goes that way. It's not a consistent, gradual aim assist type. Now, the reason why I like this is because it means you can aim on one target, push your stick, aim on the next target very, very easily, and there's no need to kind of like try and track anything. Moving on into the settings now, the settings are going to be completely different to linear, just so you're aware of this. And the first one we're going to get into is the horizontal and vertical. And as always, vertical is always lower than horizontal. Just keep that in mind. And I've got this set to 65 and 110. This has worked perfectly for me with Namor in particular. And I just feel like these settings work great for projectile based characters. Then we've got the S-curve, which I have adjusted. So we've got the adjustments here. Custom minimum range is set to 55. Custom maximum range is set to 85. Minimum curve statics is set to 55. Custom maximum dual zone curve is set to 65. The minimum input dead zone is again at 3 or 4, just depends on your controller. And the maximum input dead zone is again at 1, so this doesn't change regardless of which curve type you're using. And that is because you're still using the sensitivity boost. You want to get that so that you still get the boost when you whack the controller all the way to the left or right. Then we're using the max dead zone response time, which is set to default, so we're not changing that whatsoever. We do still have the aim assist window size set to 20 because we don't want to change that again either. This is the perfect sweet spot in my opinion. Aim assist strength is still set to 100 and ease in is still at 40. Before it was 30, but again, it's a different type of aim assist. So now obviously once you have all these settings locked in on your characters, whether it's the linear or whether it's the S-curve, you do want to start practicing in this firing range a little bit before you start hitting the games straight away. And that is just to make sure you are hitting your shots, you fine tune these settings because you do want to adjust them to your preference. Try and track targets that are flying, try and track targets that are moving left and right, try and track targets all over the place and understand the feeling of this aim assist and the way the aim works within this game. A little bit of practice is needed, but don't waste too much time practicing your aim. Try and get into some quick play matches and understand how the game actually works with each player as well. And that is pretty much it for this video. If you enjoyed this full breakdown, don't forget to subscribe, and thank you very much for watching.